So today I'm playing an absolute beast of a deck on the ladder, distracting opponents with our Planeswalkers, getting super aggro when we need to, and controlling the board until we ultimately win. Hey everyone, Hex here, and today we're playing some absurd Abzan Planeswalkers on the best of one ladder. But before we get going, and as always, I really do appreciate your support for this channel, and if you haven't yet, go ahead and click the subscribe button below to not miss out on future content. But let's get into today's deck, an awesome mid-range deck leveraging the power of Planeswalkers for value, and more importantly, I found distracting our opponent's attacks. Our deck is kind of split into two, the Planeswalkers and the creatures, and we're playing 2 copies each of 4 different Planeswalkers. We have the Wandering Emperor as a perfect way to control the board, and is so good against mono blue decks, where the flash means it resolves a lot of the times if played on curve. The token it creates too is just so valuable in this deck as well. We got Liliana for removal and discarding opponent's cards if necessary, but again, as a mere distraction from our life total is good enough for us. Sorin for card advantage whilst creating really annoying life-linking flyers for our opponents. And finally Ajani. Now I've wanted to play with Ajani since it first came out, but I just couldn't find a place. Today though, I think I've definitely found a place for him. It's a great card for card advantage and is really hard for the opponents to kill too. Now the sheer threat of having these on the board means our opponents don't seem to want to attack us, and our life total never seems to go down. This can be said for all our Planeswalkers. If we do get to Ultimate Ajani, that would be really sweet too, as a different win condition. But whilst they're attacking our Planeswalkers and worrying about their ultimates, which I may or may not even activate, we're attacking them and reducing their life total. Creature-wise, we have the usual suspects with an emphasis on sheer value, but a one-off copy of a certain creature performs so well in today's games. So we got some Evolved Sleepers for early plays and card draw late on, Tenacious Underdogs for recursive threats that we just don't mind dying, and again card draw, 4 Trespassers, as these are value engines all round, and again our opponents have to spend 2 cards basically to remove them. We got 3 Sheoldreds because this card is just unfair if the opponents don't have answers to it, and the 2 other creatures work so well in this deck. Firstly, Anointed Peacekeeper. Just being able to look in our opponent's hands so we can play around their spells is great, but the taxing of one of their spells, the Vigilance and 3/3 stats make this an all-star here. Finally, 1 copy of Tainted Adversary. Now this card is getting more play recently and is great against counterspell decks, as the kicker cost can be paid after the spell resolves, but also this is a really good mirror breaker against other similar decks. It won me so many games today when we suddenly jammed an army of zombies on the board without warning. The rest of the deck are cut downs, Rite of Oblivions for removal, Bankbusters for card draw, Wedding Announcements as sacrifice fodder, and pesky little blockers to protect our Planeswalkers. Lastly, 1 copy of Urza assembles the Titans. It fits into the deck nicely, but it's not a necessity here, so hence just 1 copy. Essentially it allows us to scry 4, put a Planeswalker in our hands, then we get to put a Planeswalker with mana value 6 or less from our hand to the battlefield for free, and finally get to double loyalty activations for a turn. So yeah, not essential for the deck, but a one-off is just fine. With 25 lands, which should be plenty, and that's our deck. I guess we're only splashing green for Ajani, but I do like that splash, and I really wanted to fit that card into one of my decks. Anyway, I did play some games on the ladder where we just went on an amazing roll, so have a watch and let me know if you would make any changes, as I'm keen to adjust this deck as the meta develops, and I'll talk to you after. On the play with a pretty good hand here, got a turn 2 underdog. No turn 3 plays, although we could be playing the Rite of Oblivion turn 3 if we need to, and then into a Sheoldred and Sorin, so couldn't ask for much more. Only got the 2 copies of Evolved Sleepers in this deck, so can't expect that all the time in our opening hand. We get to play our Swamp for the time and say go. Opponent with the tap land, and we draw Wedding Announcement, so that's the turn 3 play we need. So we get to play our Tenacious Underdog here. Really annoying creature that doesn't seem to ever go away. Opponent's land, if you're wondering, is Racer's Ring. It taps for a green or red, or you can sack it for a card as they drop down a Shigeki. Now that's a pretty nice card for them, and wondering if they're going to hope to be using that to ramp. Going to test first and just attack with the Tenacious Underdog. No blocks, so they're obviously valuing that card a lot. So it would be a shame to exile it now with the Rite of Oblivion. But that's what we're going to do anyway, and yeah, just having the Tenacious Underdog in the graveyard is absolutely fine for us. They play Crystal Grotto here, so they get to scry. Taps for colorless, I think. And a Fable, so that's a decent follow-up card. So we draw a Trespasser. Different options here. We get to drop our land. Obviously we can go Sheoldred or Sorin. But I went with the Wedding Announcement to start creating some board presence, some recursive board presence. Yeah, they're going to be able to attack with their 2/2 here. but that's just something we're going to have to deal with. I really like our hand. If we can just hit some land drops, I think we're in business here. Opponent decides to not discard any cards. So if we'd played Sheoldred that last turn, then they may have taken a load of damage from the Fable. They didn't anyway, so that's fine. And they're playing the Cemetery Prowler here. You get to exile a card from the graveyard. So it's a bit annoying as our underdog's in there. And yeah, they go for our underdog, so that's a pretty good answer to that card. Kind of glad they didn't get rid of the Rite of Oblivion, but I'm a bit worried we're going to lose that card on the following turn. So probably incentivized just to use the Rite of Oblivion now, unfortunately, before we lose it completely. Beauty of having the wedding announcement is it creates these little sacrificial lambs for our Rite of Oblivion here. And yeah, not what I really wanted to do this turn, but I think we had to do that before we lost the Rite of Oblivion completely, as Fable becomes the reflection of Kiki Jiki. So that is something we're going to have to get rid of, especially if they find a way to drop a Titan or something like that onto the battlefield. Burn down the house, creating some little 1/1s. Annoying little cards. Get rid of one of the devils. It's going to ping us anyway, but 1 damage is fine. Down to 13. So we draw a second copy of Sorin. So 2 copies of Sheoldred, 2 copies of Sorin in our hand. Not great. Man efficient play is to play 1 of 4 drops, and I'm dropping Sheoldred here. Yeah, they might have ways to remove it. We do have a second copy in our hand. It instantly becomes a 5/6 as well. There is a automatic stop in the upkeep here, and they draw, lose 2 life. So wondering if they do have some removal. Surely if they had it, they would have dropped it then, unless they've got a really big follow-up play now. So yeah, Sheoldred, a massive creature, 5/6, definitely needs to be killed if the opponent can do so. And they attack all. All right, so this is a pretty obvious trap for us here. I'm not really sure what they've got. We do have a second copy of Sheoldred in our hand, and I definitely want to get rid of this token, so down to 8. And a burn down the house to take care of the board. So not too bad. We are going down to 6 life here, but we do have Sorin and Graveyard Trespasser in our hand, and that's brilliant ways to gain back some life as we draw our Peacekeeper, which is super interesting here. I would have dropped Sorin, I think, then, but let's have a look in their hand, and as you can see, a couple of Titans burn down the house and a Seismic Wave. Now, the thing with the Peacekeeper is, if you name anything other than the removal, they're just going to remove it. So we don't really have a choice here but to name Burn Down the House. We do know they've got a couple of Titans. They certainly can't play them this coming turn. So hopefully they continue to miss land drops. They play a land, and it's beside you, so they're valuing getting these Titans down. As we draw a Urza Symbols of Titans, not great here. We've been a little bit mana screwed here. We've had 25 land in the deck, so we should really be drawing more than we've got, but these things happen. So the Burn Down the House costs 7. Fingers crossed they can't, well, they don't draw a land next turn, so we get to play our Sheoldred here, and see if we can close this game out before we die. Hit the opponent for 4. Down to 11. They draw, lose 2 more life, so down to 9. I guess the Sheoldred would survive a Burn Down the House here. And yeah, just a Shigeki here, so they're definitely going to find a land over the next couple of turns as we draw one of our Planeswalkers in Liliana, so this should be lethal. We can see what's in their hand. We can play Liliana. Fortunately, they'll have to sack their Shigeki, and we can hit the opponent for 9 damage. So although we didn't get to play a Planeswalker all game, we got to play one right at the end, right at the death, and it managed to just take us over the line before they got to jam down these Titans and gain a load of life. All right, game number 2 here. This time on the draw. Yeah, another really good opening hand. The Tenacious Underdog and the Trespasser, playing 4 copies of each of those cards. It's the only creature we're playing 4 copies each of. Looks like we're up against a mono black deck, so we'll play our tap land here. We don't have a turn 1 play. Just going to give the opponent quite a bit of advantage here with the Evolved Sleeper getting in, and they don't play a card turn 2, so clearly they've got a removal, otherwise why would they do that? Get to play our Bankbuster then. There's no point playing the Underdog there. And Evolved Sleeper, beauty of that card is it's a good mana sink for situations like this, so they're able to evolve it to a 2/2 and hit their 3rd land drop and get in there. And the follow-up play is a Trespasser. Alright, so really good start here from our opponent. Ours is a tiny bit slow, but we have some really good cards in our hand. Let's have a look to see what they are playing with. Okay, Infernal Grasp, Tenacious Underdog, Invoke Despair. So we name Infernal Grasp. If we name anything other than Infernal Grasp, they'll just kill this anyway. At least if they're gonna need to spend 4 mana basically to kill this Peacekeeper. So hopefully they don't hit their land drops to get into this Invoke Despair, because that would be pretty annoying for us. Yeah, we're definitely on the defensive here, so I'm just gonna sit tight and let them do their thing. They attack with a 2/2, which they can turn into a 3/3 with Death Touch if need be. Don't really want to block with a Bankbuster, as their Infernal Grasp can take that out if they need to. So we're just going to take the damage here. And like I said, we're just going to sit tight, try and hit some land drops, and then play some of our bigger threats as opponent follows up with an Underdog. So this is definitely one of those games where you have to determine who is the aggro player and who is the more defensive player. We're definitely going to be playing on the defensive here. To get to drop a land, and yeah. And the Peacekeeper again, the second one. So, okay, so they found a second copy of Invoke Despair, which is pretty annoying. The Infernal Grasp is still sitting there, so we could name Infernal Grasp. However, these Invoke Despairs are going to be backbreaking if they manage to find a land to cast them. We'll definitely name Invoke Despair and see if they take up their whole of next turn, killing one of our Peacekeepers. Attack with our 4/4. Okay. Opponent double blocks. Alright, let's get rid of this Trespasser. The Bankbuster, yeah, it's not ideal that it died, but I think getting rid of this Trespasser off the battlefield, it keeps the board state down, and we've still got these Peacekeepers. So opponent is pretty incentivized to kill one of them. They kill the one that named Invoke Despair, which was the right thing to do. So Invoke Despair's back to costing 5 mana. Oh, and they do miss a land drop. Alright, so this is a bit of a window here for us to see what we can do. We can double spell here with our Trespasser of ourselves, gain some life back, and drop an Underdog. So even if the opponent does have an Invoke Despair, at least we can get rid of the Underdog. And I'm going to give them the option here. The Anointed Peacekeeper is naming Infernal Grasp, so it's kind of not doing anything much for us now. Sure, yeah, they block with the Underdog, which was probably the right thing to do. They can just cast that again from the graveyard if they have nothing to do this turn. And it's a cut down on our Underdog. Cool with that, not a problem. Yeah, they're probably incentivized here to just attack with this Evolved Sleeper. At the end of the day, I'm not going to block it. I don't want to lose my Trespasser. It can become a 4/4, so interesting to see what they do. Okay, and yeah, they draw a card, and it does become a 4/4, so that's their turn. So this shows just how good this Sleeper is. We've kind of let it stick around, but we had no way to get rid of it. We do find a land drop though. Still not able to double spell, so Trespasser, we can get rid of this Underdog from their graveyard. So that was a nice card to have, and absolutely we're going to attack, and we're going to start picking off our own graveyard, as our opponent is already showing that they're playing Trespassers, so we're not going to be able to get these Peacekeepers out of our grave. Opponent down to 11, we're actually up to 13, so after all of this, we're still on 13 life. Okay, there's no way the opponent drawed a land here, because they would have definitely just played land, Invoke Despair, so it's nice whilst they're missing their land drops, we're able to keep hitting their life total. If they attack with the Sleeper and they don't have a backup play, we're going to be hitting for a considerable amount next turn. Yeah, and if they had just evolved the Sleeper and passed the turn, then our Trespassers would have become 4/4s, and it's Tainted Adversary for our opponent, the Cult Conscript. So we are playing Tainted Adversary in our deck. We are just the one copy. It's a finisher. It's the card we want to draw last. Unfortunately, they've had to play it with no particular value, and we do get to play our Sheoldred. Sorin here, and I'm just going to create a 2/3. This can fly over the top. Now, again, I'm just going to attack. Let them have the option of blocking if they want. All about resources at the moment, and if we can keep as much off their board as possible. If they want to block and kill our Trespasser, so be it. Now, again, land, Invoke Despair. It's going to be pretty backbreaking for us. We'd lose our Sorin. Yeah, we're swerving this. And yeah, I'm not sure how many lands people play in these mono black decks, but we've been kind of lucky that the opponent hasn't found their 5th land drop. If you're playing Invoke Despair, I would assume they've got a fair few lands. And they're going to send the Evolved Sleeper at Sorin. And the Cult Conscript is attacking as well. No, yeah, that stays back on defense. So this is what I was talking about. Sorin, although it's a great card to have on the battlefield, it's just basically saved us 4 damage. And when our life totals are so low, like they are right now, that 4 damage can be so important later on. So yeah, I could have thrown the Trespasser in front of that Sleeper there, but what would happen now? We would have a Sorin on the battlefield. We would probably have to minus it for a 2/3, and that would kill it anyway, or we'd up it and we'd lose it the following turn. So Sorin's down, but we did save 4 life by doing so. Alright, so unfortunately we can't quite kill them, I don't think, this turn. Play the Underdog, and we can use the Underdog as sacrifice fodder for our Rite of Oblivion here. I mean, this isn't the perfect way to play with an Underdog, but this works quite well, and we're going to be able to do the same thing next turn. Also get to draw a card from the Underdog dying, and we can finally get rid of this 4/4 from the battlefield. Feels like it's been out there all game. I think it has been out there all game. As we draw our planes, and yeah, we can attack here and get rid of the adversary from the graveyard. Keep our life total as high as we possibly can, and they block with their skeleton. All right. 1 turn. Let's hope they don't draw that land. Doesn't seem they do. They draw a. They play their another Evolved Sleeper, and they level it up straight away. Yeah, straight to a 3/3. Okay, we just draw a land. So they're probably hoping to avert attacks from us, but we can just do what we did last turn. However, we get to gain some life back with the Trespasser, and also pick off this skeleton that's sitting in their graveyard. So we're doing quite well at just hanging in there as we draw our Tainted Adversary. All right, so this is the exact reason I love this card. If we get to survive this following turn, and we are going to, because even if they play their Invoke Despair, we are only going to go down to 3 life. We're going to drop a load of zombies next turn, and I can't see them finding a way out of that. They do, however, find a Trespasser themselves, which is a really good draw for them. So we draw a Sheoldred as well. So we should be quite good. Let's hide what we've got in our hand, and let's just go to attacks first. See what they want to do. If they take the damage, fingers crossed they'll die with Sheoldred in their upkeep. If they block, they're going to be surprised by what we throw onto the battlefield ourselves. So yeah, we can attack. Get rid of our Trespasser from our graveyard. They're going to go down to 3. So yeah, they have to block anyway. Okay, and we get to play Sheoldred, so they're hopefully going to go down to 1 in their upkeep. And at the end of the day, Invoke Despair is also going to kill them with Sheoldred, so load of zombies, and suddenly, look at our board, a 4/5, 3/4, and 2 2/2s. No matter what they put down, they're going to die, and they do. I'm really happy with that victory there. Alright, on to the next game here. Alright, 3 3-drops in our hand. Not perfect, but they're pretty good cards, so I'm not going to complain too much. We'll use turn 1 to drop one of these tap lands. Yeah, and we'll play out our white and black tap land. Still thinking about that last game where the opponent had they missed their land drops. We've all been there, and it kind of sucks. I'm just grateful that we are hitting our lands in our games. We're playing 25 of them. We draw a underdog, which is a perfect turn 2 play there, so we get to drop that. So opponent on mono blue, it seems, and going first against mono blue is such an advantage. They Fading Hope our underdog. They do tap themselves out though, and yeah, we got one of my favorite cards against mono blue in our hands, and it's the Peacekeeper. We're going to be able to name one of their spells. They've got Fading Hope in there, Tolarian Terror, Slip Out the Back, or Spell Pierce. Don't have to name one of these spells. We can name any spell. We know what the blue deck's pretty common knowledge about what they're going to play. Any of the draw spells would be pretty annoying, but in this particular case, whatever we name apart from Fading Hope, basically they're just going to Fading Hope our creature back to our hand. So let's name Fading Hope. So it's going to cost 3 for them to use a Fading Hope. And in their upkeep, the Delver of Secrets becomes a 3/2. Alright, so that was a Slip Out the Bag. Pretty good card for our opponent. No land though, so again, this Peacekeeper is going to survive, and they can't use their... In fact, we can see their whole hand, and there's not really much they can do. They have Spell Pierce, so we won't play our Wedding Announcement or any Planeswalkers, but I feel pretty confident in playing any of our sort of creatures right now. I guess they can slip out the back our Peacekeeper if they really wanted to. We're not playing too much targeted removal in this deck, just a couple of cut downs. We're relying a lot on just big creatures blocking and devastating attacks, really. Yeah, they let us go to attacks. And take 3. Yeah, take 3 down to 17. Yeah, so that's just a Spell Pierce in their hand, so we can't play our Wedding Announcement, which is the card I would love to play right now. But 4 mana, let's play our Trespasser. So what I like about Trespasser is it has the ward, so they're going to find it a little bit hard to get rid of it. Also, we can start picking off the instants and sorceries from their graveyards. So if they do manage to find a Hortigin, it's not going to be quite so powerful. Yeah, so they're going to have a bit of a hard time getting rid of these creatures off our board here. And they attack with the 3/2. Okay. It goes to Knight, so that makes our Trespasser even better. It's now a 4/4, and we'll be able to pick off 2 cards from their graveyard. Yeah, and they did miss a land drop, so it still can't use that Fading Hope. So attacks first against these kind of decks. Let them make their move first before we drop a spell. So the priority's been held by this Slip Out the Back, unless they've got a spell in there that's hidden. Alright, so they do Slip Out the Back our Peacekeeper. Actually, kind of nice move. I guess that allows them to use the Fading Hope, does it? So we'll play our Adversary here. I was going to drop Sheoldred, but I don't want that Fading Hope back to our hands. So we can play the Adversary here, and we can play the pseudo kicker cost here. So if they want to put this back in my hand, I'm fine with that. Going to get a couple of zombies here, so we've got a pretty dominant board state. So the taxing of this Fading Hope has just been immense in this particular game. And yeah, Tainted Adversary comes down again, and suddenly our board state, well, I guess we are threatening lethal next turn. Not really sure what the opponent could draw to get themselves out of this. A land would probably help. It's just a consider. So yeah, they've missed land drops throughout the game, so it's been a little bit unfair here. I'm not sure how this would have gone if they had hit land drops throughout, but the Peacekeeper name in Fading Hopes definitely won us the game, I think, in this one. They fade out our Adversary and scoop it up. So another little win there against, this time, a mono blue deck. Alright, game number 4 on the play. So we've won the last 3. I guess the last 2 opponents had mana problems at some point, so let's hope our opponent this time hits their land drops, see how we can fare against them. Our hand looks pretty good. We've got, well, we have a 2, 3, and 4 drops in our opening hand. And we can drop our planes and say go. Opponent also with the planes. And there's Ajani. Okay, so let's hope we get some green mana. Just need the 1 green mana to cast that. And I want to be playing it for its full value, not its Phyrexian cost. Opponent with a green mana themselves. So it's either tokens or enchantments. And it looks like enchantments. And we've seen this play before for myself. I'm going to go to attacks first with the underdog. See if they want to block. Not too bothered if they do block. We have a follow-up with the Trespasser, which would remove it from the graveyard. And there it goes. Alright, so we managed to get rid of the Kami, and then we can exile it now, because that is a recursive threat we need off of the battlefield. And Trespasser is going to be an annoying card for them. They do have enchantments that can exile it, but that would cause them to discard a card as well. And it is a 3rd land for our opponents, so they're definitely not missing their land drops. And a Jukai Naturalist. Alright, so that's a good one by them, but we miss our 4th land. We'll attack first and see what they want to do. And submit 0. Don't like the way it shows you the underdog immediately from your own graveyard, because a few times I've clicked that and got rid of it myself. Yeah, definitely submit 0 there. Drop in our other Trespasser. Opponent does have 3 mana and they have discounted enchantments this turn. So interested to see what they want to do. It's a tap land. And Teachings of the Kirin. Okay. As they mill over 3 lands. And yeah, they don't have any decent attacks. So we draw another Rite of Oblivion. Still no green mana for Ajani. Still no 4th mana at all for any of our Planeswalkers. As we've done at all games, I think we've decided we're the aggressor here. So we're going to just attack with everything. And see what they want to do. Nothing in the graveyard to eat apart from these basics. Now this is really giving the opponent an opportunity to kill one of our 3/3s, but they would lose their Naturalist. See if they want to do it. I'm not sure what I would do in their situation. Not sure what's in their hand. I definitely don't want this Naturalist to still be on the battlefield when it comes to their turn. So yeah, they value that card a lot. And instead of passing my turn here, I think I'm going to actually kill that Naturalist or exile that Naturalist with my Rite of Oblivion here. I don't like using a Trespasser here as the card to sacrifice. But yeah, this is going to enable them to start hitting some big enchantments over the next couple of turns if... Oh, and there's a binding. Okay, so they bind our Trespasser, and they have to discard a card as well. So the board clear now. We can always get that Trespasser back, which is under their binding, using our Rite of Oblivion, if we can find a something to sacrifice. So not too bothered about where we are right now. Could be worse. But yeah, that Jukai Naturalist was discounting the cost of this binding, so they had to play it then. So 4 mana, we can drop the Emperor or Ajani. Ajani can't really defend itself too well. The opponent isn't going to have a way to necessarily attack it down. But they are going to find an exile effect sooner rather than later, maybe like a binding or something. So we'll just hold fire and we'll just drop the Wandering Emperor. This will also create a token that we can use to sack with the Rite of Oblivion to get back our Trespasser. And we draw a Wedding Announcement. Alright, so that's a really good card actually. So we'll go to attacks first, we'll see what they do. See if they want to double block. I highly doubt it. The little 1/1 they've got, the green one, is a little bit annoying because when it attacks, it's going to start eating our graveyard. And create another 2/2 here. And yeah, we could have easily just casted Rite of Oblivion, but I felt like this was the opportunity to cast Ajani that I've been waiting for all day, so I've dropped Ajani instead. Now they're going to probably attack with this creature and eat one of our creatures from our graveyard. But I think Ajani is going to be, over the long game, a decent card to have on the battlefield. So yeah, I don't know if that was greedy, but certainly the more fun thing for me to do. And it's Borrow Time, and Borrow Time on our 2/2. And a Leyline Binding as well on the other 2/2. Okay, they didn't go for our Planeswalker there. So they're going to kill the Wandering Emperor with their Kirin. And they're going to eat our Rite of Oblivion. We have another one in our hand anyway, so I'm pretty okay with that. So yeah, a lot of exile effects from our opponent, but we can remove them all as we draw Liliana, which we can't cast as we don't have a second black mana. So we'll sort of up its loyalty on Ajani, and we've got a land coming next turn, which is pretty nice. Alright, so our life total is still on 17. They attacked Ajani they attacked the Wandering Emperor last turn. So we'll play out our Tenacious Underdog here. Just as a creature that I'm fine with blocking with. And yeah, this Ajani's going to distract the opponent. Then hopefully we can start hitting our land drops and building up a board ourselves. And they're going to throw everything at Ajani. Okay, so they get to eat our underdog. Well, they should eat our underdog. There it is. And make a 1/1. But we finally get rid of this Kirin off the battlefield, and we get another underdog in the graveyard as opponent follows up with a naturalist. Alright. So we have options now. We've got the 5 mana. Have a look first with Ajani. It's going to put 6 loyalty on the Ajani now, so opponent's going to need to start attacking that down and actually start hitting it. Unless they can find another way to get rid of it. I'm not sure I'm even going to ultimate it. I mean, if I have the opportunity. It's doing a pretty good job at the distraction element. I think Planeswalkers are so good at. And yeah, let's just drop Sheoldred, see what they could do about this. If we can find the 6th mana, then we can double spell a Announcement and Trespasser maybe. Still got this Rite of Oblivion in our hand, so still able to kill that Leyline Binding they've got sitting over there. And they are sending 2 attackers. Alright, so this is suspicious. But if they've got a card in their hand, they've got a card in their hand. And it's Iganjo, okay. That's fine, Sheoldred down. But Ajani is still on 4 as our opponent cycles away their Jetmir's Garden. And yeah, there's our 6th mana, and it's turned to nighttime in the meantime. So we can up Ajani first, see what's going on. Ooh, Wandering Emperor. Alright, but this is an opportunity to get Liliana down, so our second Planeswalker. See what they want to sacrifice. And yeah, now we can get the Wedding Announcement down. Alright, so I like where we are right now. I think the card that I'm most worried about right now is Hallowed Haunting. Then they can start building up a large board, but we can get rid of that with our Rite of Oblivion. Another cycling at Jetmir's Garden. And the Jugan defends the temple to create another 1/1 or a 2/2. No attacks with the 3/3 there. Sitting on a defense. I wonder if they're worried about the Wandering Emperor. And yeah, now Wedding Announcements online. We can use the 1/1 from it to exile this Jukai Naturalist. Get this off the battlefield. Get the opponent to discard a card. Don't really want to discard either of our cards, but I want to get this Liliana to 2 loyalty. So we'll have to say goodbye to the Trespasser for the time being. Maybe should have upped Ajani first, see what we find. It's just a land, so we'll just scry that to the bottom. Say go. Hold open our Wandering Emperor. So yeah, a real grindy game, grinding down our opponent's resources. I do find enchantment decks are slightly difficult to get through once all those little 1/1s have been made and the Wedding Announcement has increased their powers, but seems to be doing a pretty good job. Now, they know that Liliana's just going to kill this 3/3 unless they can put another creature down anyway. And yeah, they go into attacks, and we can play our Wandering Emperor here and exile this. Alright, so we now have the trio of Planeswalkers, And a wedding announcement number 3, and opponent scoops it up. Okay, nice one. All right, on the play in game number 5. So we've won the last 4, ground our opponents down until they run out of resources. And I mean, our hand right now is just really good. All right, and yeah, we get to play our swamp. So I think the opponent disconnected there, but they're back now. And lead with our Evolved Sleeper. Turn 1 Evolved Sleeper is exactly what we want. And yeah, Underdog here as well. So this is pretty nice. Opponent with a Plains, so we'll definitely just throw down as what we can now. And we'll get as aggressive as possible. We're definitely the aggro player in this matchup. And they just passed their turn. So, alright, so they've definitely got something in their hand. We'll just attack and see what they do. Tap before we play a spell or anything. Okay, Resolute Reinforcements. And it's going to be interesting how they block here. Okay, both in front of the 3-2. Well, this is an easy cut down on one of the 1/1s. And I was going to evolve the Sleeper there, but we still have another Underdog in our hand. And I think it's better we get this down, get some more board presence. And it's an Anointed Peacekeeper for our opponent. All right. I wonder what they name. I mean, obviously Sorin is going to come down next turn, but they could name the Sleeper if they wanted to. They do name Sorin. And the Evolved Sleeper can become a 3-3 here. So we'll attack with everything. See what they do. If they block the Evolved Sleeper, I will take it to a 3-3. If they don't, we'll follow up with a Trespasser. Or we can make it a 2-2 first and then follow up with a Trespasser. Alright, opponent down to 10. Probably not what they want to see. Now we're in the territory of a depopulate right now. But you've got to think that they won't play that with the reinforcements unless... Well, they might do. I don't know if the reinforcements in there for tokens or control. Yeah, and we swerve that, and they play a Emperor instead, and can exile one of our threats. It's this Sleeper they exile. Okay. And yeah, they just pass their turn. And I'm not going to mess around here. We're just going to attack everything at the opponent's face. They're going to take 9 damage unless they block here. And they block an Underdog. No. Yeah, the Trespasser. That's the right thing, I think, to block. But they're down to 5. Without the Peacekeeper, we can play Sorin. And I'm just going to create a 2-3 here to keep the pressure on. So even if they get rid of one of our creatures, we've still got 5 power coming at our opponent. They do find a 5th mana here. And it's an AO. Okay, and I'm guessing they're going to create a Samurai as well. So yeah, not quite dead. They do, they create a Samurai, and okay, Sheoldred off the top. So we'll attack first, we'll see what they do. Okay, they block and block, they take 3, they go down to 2. And we are going to just activate Sorin here. I know they haven't got anything they can do, and then if you play Sheoldred in your... It's the last spell, and just pass the turn. I'm not sure if they fixed the upkeep thing yet, but if they haven't, it just went straight through to his doorstep. And they take 2 damage and lose. So thanks for watching. We went 5-0 and always felt in control, and that our top decks would be much better than our opponents. I think it's good to understand when to get aggro or stay as a control deck here, but once that is sorted, it's just so much fun to play with. Anyway, subscribe if you want for future videos, and as always, thanks for watching. Bye.